Right, well, let's talk about a watch from another British brand who seem to be going in an entirely different direction from Bremen, although they probably, they started off in probably the reverse position than they are now. Christopher Ward's valuation or average retail price is heading towards what Bremen... surpassing what Bremen have at their lower end. This is the hands-on debut, the Christopher Ward C12 Loco watch. I have thoughts about this, but let's get your thoughts. Kevin, Guy, have you guys handled this watch yourselves?
Not handled it.
Kevin, you were sworn to Pinky Promise Secrets. Yeah. What do you think?
Yes, I was.
Tell us a little bit about it.
I was fortunate enough to be at the launch party at BAFTA, saw the film, and my first impression is it's an amazing watch, absolutely, 100%. I'm not sure about the orange, however, I did have hands-on with it on Saturday with a Christopher Ward event with Red Bar Southeast, and it's warming to me. That particular colour is certainly warming to me. I do like the orange on a white rubber strap, perfect for summer. But the actual concept of it, there's touches of Armstrong in there. There's touches of Joe Perigo. There's touches of all sorts of other brands as well, which I won't say. But yeah, I mean, it's for the design, the concept. I think we've got another future GPHG award winner. I really do. For that sort of money, it's outstanding value. Not sure about the colours overall, and certainly not the names. And Loco, yeah, bit interesting.
I just think of Four Loco, that like absolute trash drink that we drank in college back when it had a ton of caffeine and alcohol in it. I see C12 Loco, I'm just thinking like that sounds like an energy drink or some terrible malt liquor you get at the gas station.
I know where you're coming from, actually. I really do. But the overall concept is amazing. Absolutely. Looking forward to more colours in the future.
Okay, some quick judgment. Is it a hit? Is it a miss? Or is it a maybe? 1, 2, 3, go. Hit, miss, maybe. Guy, why is it a hit?
Because I had a chat with Mike France and I just really like him. I think he's a nice guy.
I think that's the problem. I think the people are nicer than the watches are getting that way.
So you don't buy the watch, you buy the person.
That picture puts me off. Yes. I think it's very chunky for what it feels like. It should be a slimmer watch, but I don't know. Kevin's seen it, but
it's not that chunky. They're definitely very wearable. 100% slips under the cuff. It does.
I think it's really nice for what it is. I like anyone that's bringing colour into watches in a nice way, and especially into kind of a colour into, bright colours with a kind of more complicated watch is not as, in a stylish way is quite a nice thing to see. I just think it looks kind of cool. I don't. It's between a hit and a maybe, but I like it. I wouldn't wear it. I wouldn't buy it, but I do quite like it.
Kevin,
I love it.
Fanboy.
Love it. Absolutely. Yeah. Okay. I'm a fanboy. Yeah, absolutely. This is what Christopher Ward are trying to do. They're trying to elevate the brand, and instead of doing, unfortunately, what Bremonts do is doing a tourbillon in gold, they're slowly but surely doing things slightly differently, slightly quirky, which of course this is their halo piece, isn't it, effectively? And it's not unaffordable. Yes, it's a different price point to everything else. But there's design interpretation of the 12, the vertical graining on some of the colours. It's absolutely stunning. And I know that price point is very concerning for them, because I was speaking to the guys about this, and originally it was supposed to be in titanium, but that pushed the price up over the current price point. They wanted to get something in under 4K. If it was titanium, it would have been over that. So they do respect people's price points and what they want to achieve. And I think they've knocked it out of the park. I really do. It's a stunning piece. It really, really is. That's US dollars.
And I think on price point, I think
now.
their 3X model, where they're like this, we're selling it for 3 times what it costs us. They're very open about that. I mean, I think they should be a bit. As I said, they also give 2% of turnover to charity, which they don't ever talk about. And I think they should, and so big highlight to them for that. But I think when you're so clear about that, this is 3 times what it costs us, then the price, everyone understands that the value proposition there. So the price doesn't become that crazy.
Right, Kevin, put the lid back on the Kool-Aid. David, why is this a maybe?
Well, I'm pretty much over these integrated, lung design watches. I just be on board with them. And more of an issue, I think, is that they don't tend to wear very nicely, at least not on my wrist. And it's extremely rare that I see someone wear a watch like this and I think to myself, wow, that looks good on the wrist. Most of the time, it's just the way it stretches beyond the edge of the wrist and all the rest of it. It just looks ungainly. It's a nice object. As a design, I quite like. I used to like it before it was so overdone, but I love the orange. I love the dial. I love the value proposition. I'm just ready for this to be presented in something that is less trendy and a little bit more not traditional, but just something else other than this integrated lug design. But if it's if it's up your alley and if you think it looks good on you, then the maybe becomes a hit. And for me, it's a miss. So that's why it's a maybe.
Ripley?
I'm kind of with David. I sort of wish that they hadn't gone the 12 route on it and just sort of let it be its own thing and kind of have this line of significantly more elevated models. That said, I also understand Chris Ward's sort of at the precipice of being like the indie brand for the mainstream. It has to be a piece that has like widespread commercial appeal. And obviously the success of so many integrated bracelet watches, we may be bored with them, but they're still selling. I still see a bunch of like PRXs and Citizen Sonoyas on people's wrists these days. So it's obviously commercially viable. I like it. I kind of like that they do these things where it's so visibly not one of their core collection $1,000 watches. I think this is a good example of doing, flexing the movement in a very visible manner that isn't just skeletonization. When brands make their in-house versions of a movement and it's basically just a 3-handed movement with a longer power reserve, it's really difficult to get the average person to understand why they should at all care that the brand made that versus using a standard reliable offering. When you skeletonize it, above a certain price point, you can do a lot of cool stuff. Below a certain price point, it's hard to make a regular skeleton movement look good, and the level of finishing that has to go into those components is difficult. So this is a nice balance where you don't have to have this crazy skeletonized architectural thing, which in and of itself is a divisive sort of style. And then you get the solid dial, which people don't object to, but it still showcases the mechanics and that this isn't, a standard ETA. So I think it does a lot well that makes it easy to understand and easy to like. I like the orange quite a bit. This just seems to be a much more compelling value proposition than a lot of other things at this price point. And it is sort of unique. So for the person whose collection might top out at like $5,000-6,000, this can be a nicer piece in their collection that gives them a taste of that Armin Strom, Chapek, NBNF, Gerard Perregaux type of life for a significantly more attainable price point that they can actually buy, enjoy, and not have to sacrifice their kids' college tuition or something like that.
Yeah, listen, I hear all of that, and I'm here for it all. And I'm a big Christopher Ward fan. I have a brand new one bought with money sitting here.
What did you get? What did you get? You're just going to hold up a cardboard box?
It's actually unopened as yet because it's a gift. So it's some, but it's a C63 Sealander GMT. Nice. I know, a live unboxing, but that's $1,000. What's in here is about £1,000 worth. I think, first of all, the watch is a decent watch. I'm not sure that focusing on the really bright orange one is the way I would have gone. I think I would say, we've got these bright colours, but here's the standard one. I think there's a little bit too much of, look at our fancy colours here. The problem I have is the website is becoming an absolute shambles in terms of being able to find anything, because they now have so many SKUs, so much variety, that actually I think you're going to start to get into analysis paralysis. And the other problem is it's a great watch. It's £1,000. If I am not a watch geek, is there a danger that producing watches that really are starting to be at a premium level, in the UK terms, this is £3,795, that if that is the watch that you land on when you go to the website, and the ones they're pushing hard are the expensive ones, you're actually going to be put off buying the bread and butter because you feel you're buying the cheap watch within the brand.
I don't think that's right. And also, I think the Bel Canto was like 50% of their sales last year or something.
Yeah, I agree, but I think the Bel, it will be interesting to see if the Loco is as popular as the Bel Canto. I think the Bel Canto had a very specific zeitgeist that went with it, and it just exploded. I'm not sure that's repeatable. And if the brand is intending to advance to $3,500-4,000 watches as being their standard, then great. But I think there's a danger that they make it more difficult for someone who's not a watch expert to go, I don't understand why this watch here is so much more expensive than this. Is there like less quality in it or something? The problem is the £1,000 watches that Christopher Robin are absolutely amazing quality. I just think
if you were talking, like you were talking about earlier, about 2030, I see these guys going more to this kind of product over the next 5 years, and a lot less to the £1,000 dive watches that look like everyone else's £1,000 dive watches.
I think you're right.
Disagree.
I think the question is, has any watch brand really successfully made the transition from being the £1,500 average to the 4,500, 5,000? I think Oris tried it.
I think they already have. I think if you look at where their growth's from over the last year, I think didn't they like double in size, and it was all on the back of the Bel Canto.
Yeah, all Bel Canto. And having all your eggs in that's a zeitgeist watch. I don't think they can keep going selling Bel Cantos. Once you've got
you've got to think, what do we do that's I had a mentor, he kept saying to me, find out what works well and do more of it. And the Bel Canto works, so they're trying to do something similar. Yeah. So,
it's not going to. I don't think it's going to take over. The core range. I really don't. I think they're still going to stick to the £1,000, £2,000 dive watches, the GMTs. I don't think they're going to lose their core. Lose their core business model by moving upwards in SKUs and bigger profits on these products. I mean, this one was capped at 750, the first drop, and they sold out in something like 36 hours. And then there is a reason for that. They want to not.
Because we're all mad.
Exactly.
All absolutely barking mad. Anyone that buys more than one watch,
so they want to make sure that people get the products.
Yeah.
We're all mad. We're all mad.
Yeah,
exactly.
I see these more as halo pieces. I'm with Kevin on this one. I don't think this is going to become the core collection, but I think it works both ways. The person who gets an affordable one says this was a great watch for $1,000. Well, let's see what the brand can do with 4,000. I think that makes a lot of sense. And then it kind of works the other ways, where some people who previously just overlooked Chris Ward, like, I don't need another Etta Salita diver. Oh, well, this is tangibly different. I operate in a price point of, Patek, whatever. This is pocket change. And then they see this as now the one compelling offering. So I think it can play to both markets, but I don't foresee this ever just becoming their bread and butter, because to make a watch like this and just make them, you can only make so many of them. You can't crank them out in the same way you do divers in every millimeter from 36 to 42. So,
David, there's a question. Do you think people who are buying this watch are more likely to be, shall we say, £10,000 watch owners stepping down to this, or $1,500 watch owners stepping up to this?
I don't think we have to choose. I think it's both. I think it's a tempting proposition for both. If you are wearing a 10K watch that looks like every other 10K watch, if you are wearing a Submariner or whatever else, or a Speedmaster or something like that, and you want to get something more exciting, usually it's more comfortable to buy something that is half the cost and say, okay, I might not lose quite so much money on this. I got a Submariner for 10K because that's where I feel safe and my money is safe. That's not within my comfort zone at all. It's the truth for many people who spend 10K on a watch. They buy a safe purchase or make a safe purchase because they want to see some of that money come back to them at a later stage. If you buy an orange strap, Christopher Ward or whatever else for 5K, you're like, well, I guess, if I sell it for 2K, I still only have lost 3. That's different than buying a fun Moser for 25K or 30K and then being able to shift it for 18K. So that, and also, stepping up. If you are into watches, chances are you are. If you're listening to this and you've spent, you've climbed the ladder from Seiko 5 and up, and you had your G-Shocks, you appreciate a fun watch, but you also want to dip your toe into proper watchmaking and stuff, then this, I guess, checks many of those and ticks many of those boxes. So I can totally see this working, and this is why it's so ingenious, because it works for both demographics. So that's great.
Okay, so final question on this then. Which happens first? Bremont turn a profit, or Christopher Ward market their first 10K watch? Guy?
How easy.
But Christopher Ward 10K.
Okay, Christopher Ward 10K. Kevin, Christopher Ward 10K, or Bremont make a profit?
Those are either ever going to happen.
Christopher will never market a 10K watch. I don't think they will never ever market a 10K watch.
Okay, interesting. David?
Oh, easy. Definitely Christopher Ward. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw one within like a couple of years at most. Maybe it will be gold. It will be the cheapest
Diamonds.
gold something or whatever. Yeah.
It will be ethically sourced gold, ethically sourced diamonds, bright orange strap. Ripway, Bremont, or Christopher Ward?
I don't think Christopher Ward's going to release a 10K watch before something dramatic happens with Bremont. I'm careful not to say before Bremont turns a profit, because I think the likelihood of Chris Ward making a watch before Bremont turns a profit is probably higher. But if Bremont going under, if 6 years from now Bremont might not exist and Chris Ward's still holding like at 7K or something like that. So
Chances then, I did say that was the final question, but this is actually the final question. Chances of Christopher Ward being the future owners of Bremont? Guy?
Oh, God.
Well, do you know what? When Kevin was talking about selling the wing, now property,
absolutely
wise
makes sense.
That would make, but they have a manufacturer in Switzerland, so chances of Christopher Ward picking up some of their assets in the solvency
fire
sale, God, I'll go for.
Okay.
But probably not the brand. I don't think they'd want the brand.
Yeah.
But
Kevin?
I
would like them to get rid of Christopher. Well, bear in mind that this watch from Christopher Ward has no brand on it. Has no brand. Maybe they're just gearing up. They're slowly morphing into. There's going to be a little wing will appear on one side, little propeller.
Well, they don't have the name on it because what happened to Christopher Ward? He's no longer part of the company. Who is he? Let's not look at. We're looking forward to the future.
We got a new name.